Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are designer Tina Tangalakis and filmmaker Crayton Robey. Designer, entrepreneur Tina Tangalakis was raised in Culver City, went to Notre Dame Academy, and then studied at the California Institute of the Arts. What did you study at Cal Arts?
I studied costume design.
You did? Do they have a costume design section?
They do. It's pretty small, but it's a very solid program.
And where do they get who teaches that?
You know, I'm not quite sure anymore.
They kept changing?
They have a master's and an undergraduate program, and it was kind of in flux while I was there.
I see, because I didn't know they did that.
Yeah,
I didn't know they had a...
They have a very solid theater department, so under the theater department, they have costume designers who work directly with the theater department.
What else did you take there?
Well, that was my major, was costume design.
Oh, it was.
And I mean, you have a lot of background in the theater arts as well, being that that's the school that you're in.
But why and how did you want to become a costume designer? What triggered that?
Let's see. So when I was young, I always sort of knew that I wanted to do something artistic. And I've always been very interested in history and fashion. And one day on a family road trip, we stopped off at a little ghost town. My parents bought me an old Sears Roebuck catalog.
You're kidding, is that when it happened?
Yeah, that's when it happened. And I was looking through it, I was very fascinated with all of the styles and also how it historically tied us to our roots. And I just thought, that's it, I want to be able to design clothes like this.
And when did you, was it in California?
It was actually, yeah, it was in the Sierras where that was.
And you found an old,
yeah,
this old Sears catalog?
Yeah.
And it was just, did it have illustrations or
oh, yeah,
photographs?
It had beautiful illustrations. This was dated back, I think, to the 1880s.
Wow.
So just these gorgeous illustrations of all these different clothing and little details that maybe someone without the artistic eye would notice, but I just noticed the details, and every little piece of clothing, I was fascinated by it, and that's when I knew I wanted to do something with design.
Did you draw a lot? Did you take drawing classes?
I did, yeah, my whole life I've done that.
I see.
Yeah.
And so at school in costume design, do they have a drawing course?
What's really nice about that is at Cal Arts, it was started by Disney, and they have a very solid animation program.
That's true.
So I was fortunate enough to be able to take life drawing courses with actual animators during my time there.
So that must help you a lot. When you do the designs now, do you do any drawing? Is there anything?
I do a lot of sketching with our technician who makes the patterns for our bags.
Okay, so here we are.
Mm-hmm.
You've decided to go into, what did you do when you came out of Cal Arts? Did you design for the stage? Did you design for theater?
I actually was working pretty solid for the studios for a while. I was very young and very lucky to have some very solid jobs doing both costume design and wardrobe styling.
In films?
In film, for film, TV, and commercials. I worked all of those.
And then how did that transfer into going to Ghana?
Let's see. So I did styling pretty solid for a good few years. I was very young, so I kind of wasn't sure if I really wanted to be a part of the entertainment industry for my whole life. So I took a step back. I started designing jewelry on my own. And during that time, I decided, you know what, now's the time in my life. I've always wanted to go to Africa. I really enjoy volunteering. Now's the time.
Oh, so you were a volunteer teacher.
Yes.
Is that what took you?
That's what took me there.
And what were you going to teach? What were you teaching?
I just taught basic English, math skills to an orphanage, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How'd you get that job?
You know, I applied through a volunteer organization because there's a lot of different volunteer organizations that
Because
need people.
It's great for our audience to hear that,
Yeah,
so that they can go out and do something like that.
It was a fabulous opportunity.
And how long were you there?
Just a month,
Uh-huh.
one solid month. However, the first week I was there, the switch went on in my head. I was enamored by all the textiles that were in the town.
And the color, I bet.
Yeah, they're beautiful and they're so unique.
And you know, I'm a representative to the UN, an NGO, and of course the UN is filled with African women in these beautiful dresses like you've got here, and some of them come where they've designed the fabric themselves to show one group of women, and they'll all be wearing the same fabric but in different designs, that different ways that they wear it.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating. I can see where your eyes must have just popped out.
Yeah, as a designer, just the limitless possibilities of hundreds of fabric choices, and then there's literally women sitting there with a sewing machine waiting for work. So it's like, it's a dream come true for me. It's like, all right, let's have you make me some stuff. And
so what did you decide? Did you have a partner? Was someone there in school with you?
No, it was all me. While I was volunteering, I decided to design some purses to bring back to my family, because they would want something a little nicer than your typical satchel. As soon as I got the bags created, I looked at it and I thought, wait a minute, I could see these being sold in America. And I have worked doing freelance design for a belt company before, so I know how it works. And then it all just clicked in my head. They need jobs. I would love to have something like that be a career where I'm the head designer.
And that was it, Della?
That was it, Della. And I ordered, I think all the volunteers thought I was crazy. I took all my money, bought 50 yards of fabric, commissioned the seamstress to make 50 bags. I brought them all back with me, and within 2 weeks they were sold.
And what kind of bags were they? Were they this bag?
They were a typical hobo bag.
This is the hobo bag, which has a small opening so nothing falls out of it.
No, not at all.
And I love the way you have the tie in it, because I've used mine.
Good.
And it ties closed, so it's, you know, not falling. And it's light, which is what I like, because we put so much stuff in these bags.
No, and they're very durable. They know how to make things to last.
And you have a zipper.
Yes.
So you can put your phone in there and your keys,
Yeah, you know
and they don't
exactly
get
where
lost.
it is. Yes.
And this fabric, does it come in different colorways?
Yes, we have all of our items come in multiple fabrics, so that depending on your style, we have some that are more flashy, some that are more subdued.
I'm going to just open it so you
Yeah.
can see it's also lined. It's fantastic. And this reminded me so much when I saw it of the UN. You know, when you walk in and you see their heads wrapped like that, and beautiful pieces, almost like saris sometimes thrown over the side. Well, so you bought 50 yards of fabric. Then what happened? Did the local designers start changing colorways for you? Or did you do all the designing?
I've tried to stick with all the designing. There was a point when I first came back, I called them up and said, all right, let's make 100 more bags. And I sent them email photographs of the fabrics I wanted, but I told them to choose some. Unfortunately, the fabrics that they chose weren't appropriate for the American market.
You knew what you could sell.
Yeah, exactly. So, so ever since that time, we're very specific about what fabrics we use.
I thought it was pretty interesting that you said a lot of the things that are sold there were made in China. How could that be?
True. I guess just China has a hold on the market. A lot of the Ghanaian fabrics actually are imported from China. So
the fabric
itself, on top of other items from storage containers to
Did they design the fabric, or did they just buy the design and the fabric and everything the way it was from China?
No, well, what happens is, I guess the Chinese source out what's going on in the African market. They bring it back to China, make it for quarter of the cost, and then sell it for a quarter of the cost, which is bad, because even in Ghana, that's a third world country, their fabric industry is dying because of all these fabrics that come in from China.
So you're starting the business back again. You've helped these women with their microfinancing?
Yes. Well, what we do is we employ women full-time with Della, and on top of that we provide them with skill training to make the products, because a lot of our products are much higher quality than they're used to making, especially like our computer case or our clutch purse. They're very high quality, they're perfectly lined, very solid pieces. So
and they have...
Oh, they're great. Yeah, those, they fit a checkbook, they fit an ID,
This is great.
yeah. They're a lot of fun. So we provide them with skill training, and we also have courses that we offer our employees in microfinance, how to save your money, what is poverty, how to get out of poverty. So we have a whole learning curriculum we offer them as well.
Really for women. It's women-oriented, which I think is so great.
Yeah, that's one of our purposes.
Is that? And also, I think the thing was, how can a bag be a vegan bag?
It's so popular right now for things to be eco-friendly, rightfully so.
Right.
And there was actually one point where I was approached by a big store asking if we would put leather in our goods.
Oh,
and I thought,
see.
I don't know if I really want to make a living off of. I mean,
I see.
Off of like mass producing leather. So it just sort of as a selling point and something that people like is that they're vegan friendly. No animals were harmed while the making of our products.
One of the things is that each bag has a little
each bag
tag.
is signed. Yes,
it's signed right here.
Let's see. On this bag, there's a tag right there.
The tag. And where did Della come from?
Della is the name of one of the first people I met out in Ghana.
Oh, how great.
Yeah.
So it's a Ghana name?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this says the person who made it. Abena?
Yes.
That's fabulous. And one other thing, just before we go. What does carry change mean?
Well, carry change. Like, naturally, you can carry quarters in your purse. You can carry figurative change.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to get across with our products is that you can make a difference through shopping and trying to be more responsible while you shop. And so through carrying a bag and through purchasing a product from Della, you're helping carry change for the women that we work with.
Oh, that's back to the women and their business and their entrepreneurial micro businesses and loans. Did they do any loans? Did they do any loaning to the women?
Well, none of them have needed them quite yet. I've had discussions with the women, but no, none of them have taken out their own personal loan yet.
But so they can start businesses too, and then you can be a part of that?
Exactly, because we talk about their dreams, and a lot of them want to eventually open up their own shops.
I think that's so fabulous. You've done such a great job. Thank you for bringing this to the public so that we know about it, and for going to Ghana and helping their industry.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And we'll be right back with filmmaker Crayton Robey. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are director, actor, producer Crayton Robey, who was born and raised in Texas. He graduated from the Performing Arts High School in Houston and Howard University in Washington, D.C. Crayton started his cinema career as an actor, then moved on to direct award-winning movies, the first of which was When Ocean
Meets Sky, yes.
Yes, and what was that about?
It's cool. It's a documentary that takes a look at the evolution of the beach community Fire Island Pines, which is located in Long Island, New York.
Which was did it start as a gay community?
Well, it kind of did. The intentions were not for the Fire Island Pines to be a gay community. There's another community in Fire Island that's called Cherry Grove. And at that time, I think like during the Depression, like all of the local Sayville and Patchogue families, they couldn't afford the rent, so they ended up renting their houses to the theater community in New York City.
Oh,
this
so
is like
the theater
1920s
community.
30s.
Oh, it was
Yes.
the 20s and 30s?
Yes, it was scandalous. And so these guys, to all their friends and girlfriends and the gays and lesbians, came out there and they built this community. So meanwhile, the Patchogue and Sayville families didn't have a beach community to go to, and so when money got to be a little bit better, they decided to build a community called Fire Island Pines for families in those communities to come. Well, meanwhile, the closeted gay people caught on about Cherry Grove, so they ended up buying the properties in Fire Island Pines.
Oh, because I remember hearing Cherry Grove all the time.
Yes.
But the thing I remember when I used to come to New York in the summer was tea dances. Tea dances.
That's right.
Did you take pictures, or did you have vintage footage of that?
I have vintage footage. I've got photographs. It was just kind of magical.
When you get the vintage footage, did you get it from people who were actually there? Because they are still around, aren't they?
They are still around. Yeah, a lot of people are still around,
Well,
and they're all over the world too. And some of them are in California too. In fact, the lady that started the tea dance section, it wasn't called tea dance at that time. Her name was Peggy Fear. She was an old Ziegfeld Follies girl.
Oh, yes.
And her companion was a beautiful woman named Teddy Thurman, and I think on the Jack Parr show, she used to give the sexy weather.
Oh, Thurman, yes.
Yeah,
I
Teddy
remember.
Thurman.
Well, I just remember hearing, but I didn't know that they had started that, whatever, what do you
Yes.
want to call it?
They brought the
conclave.
public entertainment to
Right,
Fire Island
right.
Pines, yeah.
Well, why did you give up acting? And how did you transition?
The thing about it is I guess you never really give up anything, because I call myself like a storyteller, because however I can serve the story, I'm going to be there. You know, this opportunity came up to archive the Fire Island Pines community, so I just rose up to the occasion and made it happen.
I see. So you're still acting.
Well, I'm actually writing and directing and producing a lot more than acting these days.
What did you do when you were in school? Did you think you were going to be an actor?
I knew I was going to be an actor. I was an actor ever since I was a kid. You know, I just think that the other stuff just kind of just evolved. You know, and I love the arts. I love expressing myself creatively. I love education, and
That's what it's all about.
It is
isn't
what it's all about. Yeah.
And when you left Howard,
yes,
did you go right to New York?
I absolutely did.
You never went back to
I
Houston?
never went back to Houston, no, except for funerals and weddings.
Ooh, poor Houston.
I know.
But you come from...
But I'm going back to Houston, though, to do a screening of Making the Boys in July.
You are doing so much with Making the Boys, and we're going to talk about it, but I
Look
want
at
to
that, yeah.
lead into
You
it
totally do,
because
yeah.
you come from a background of the arts, in the arts.
In the arts.
And tell us about Uncle Don.
Oh, Uncle Don Robey. My uncle was a rhythm and blues producer. He laid the foundation, I think, the blueprint for Motown. This was the 1950s.
You mean
Yeah.
before, at that time?
Do you know the song "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog"?
Yes.
Well, he recorded the first recording of that, sung by Big Mama Thornton.
But was that Stoller and what's his name who wrote it?
Something like that.
I think
it's
so.
a very controversial story. Some say it's Big Mama Thornton, some say it's them, but I'm not one to tell.
Oh, who wrote it?
Yeah.
Oh, it
Have you
is
heard her version?
controversial. Oh, no.
Have you heard her version?
No,
I'm going to
no.
send you a copy. It is fantastic. Well, anyway, my uncle had this recording studio that he started. He started this Las Vegas for the African American people in Houston, Texas, and it was so fantastic and amazing.
Oh.
And he was just respected by so many. He was a true entrepreneur. He was like
Did you
Sean
know him
Puffy Combs.
well?
I did not know him that well. I was very
But you
young
knew
and
he was
stuff.
in the family.
I mean, absolutely, yeah.
And you kind of took his genes.
I think I took his genes. You know, it's funny, reading about him and stuff. You know, and it was just a natural kind of fit because he was just he made things happen.
Was Pine 79 about him?
Not yet, no. That's Hound Dog, and that's going to be about him. Pine 79 is an upcoming project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Hound Dog is about Don Robey.
Yes.
And that's what you're telling us about.
Yes.
And then Pine 79, what does that mean?
When I did the documentary about Fire Island Pines, I was captivated by the 1970s. And so I created this narrative with my friend Carson Kressley about the last days of hedonism called Pine 79, and we're in process of making this happen. And we just had, last week, we were invited by the Tribeca Film Institute to this this moment that they have. It's called Key Ingredients. And it was hosted by Jane Rosenthal, one of the founders there, who's been just wonderful to me and to my project. And the chef, David Boulay, prepared a 5-course meal, and they invited 6 filmmakers to present new works to industry. Around the table of 8, you talked about your project, and as each course was served, a different filmmaker would come in front of the room and pitch the project to the entire
fabulous.
room. I mean, how cool is that?
That was
like
really
that's doing
great.
the Tribeca Film Festival. It totally rocked.
I know, and you are really tied to the Tribeca Film Festival,
so,
or
yes.
Tribeca, because it also played a role in the making of The Boys.
Yes.
So remember to talk about that. But you are a storyteller and a historian, and does that will that keep you in the documentary field of films, or will you go out and do feature films?
I think it's going to take me somewhere else. I think it's going to definitely inform everything, because I think I like getting the facts, and I think the stories are just so precious, and preserving the legacy is like just really important for me.
How did you come to the project making of Making the Boys?
Making the
I keep
Boys.
saying of the Boys,
That's
but
okay,
it's
though.
Making the Boys.
Making the Boys, yes.
And tell us what that is. What is The Boys?
Well, Making the Boys is a new documentary that I directed and produced that tells the backstory of the evolution and creation of Mark Crowley's groundbreaking classic, The Boys in the Band.
The play.
The play.
Yes, which was
subsequent
off
movie,
Broadway, right?
Which was off Broadway, yes.
Yeah. And it turned out to be like a really chic off Broadway thing to go to, because
Yes.
everyone in New York wanted to see it all of a sudden.
All of a sudden. It's crazy. I think that this subject has not been explored by mainstream audiences. And when the producers were brave enough to showcase it at Edward Albree's Playwrights Unit, it was shocking. And it's kind of crazy to like think that a play about homosexuality would be shocking, but think of 1968. Homosexuality was against the law. It was considered taboo, and you could be arrested. And to have this play at that particular time was just really something else.
But all of us in the arts weren't shocked. We
Right.
were flocking there to see what he had done.
Yeah.
Because it was groundbreaking. How did you decide to do something on him?
Well, when I did I guess it's the synergy of different projects. When I did the Fire Island project, Mark wrote a portion of The Boys in the Band out in Fire Island Pines.
I see.
And so I interviewed him for that documentary. And when I interviewed him for the documentary, of course I wanted to know, like, hey, Mark, how did you write The Boys in the Band? So he gave me this, like, quick crash course on the evolution of that. And I was just like, wow.
Were you filming him?
I was not filming him.
Oh,
Yeah,
you were
we were
just
just like
listening to-
we were just kind of warming up and just getting a feel for each other.
So that was like over 40 years ago, and so much happened in the time. How did you cover all that time from then to now?
Well, I think that when Mark kind of like just introduced me to the moment, I guess, that marked when America like embraced the positive visibility of homosexuality. And he started talking about the evolution of the cast members and of the work through the years. I just felt that it could be just a great opportunity to tell the backstory of the gay rights movement for a younger generation and place this piece in a historical context to give meaning and understanding.
So it does follow this timeline,
Yeah.
and you have vintage footage
I
on
do.
all of those
I do.
years,
Yep.
which is great. Tell us who you interviewed, because I mean,
Oh my
Edward
God.
Albee.
Right,
Come on,
yeah.
how'd you get him to sit?
Well, I actually that was really kind of special. Edward Albee was speaking at I think the Gay and Lesbian Center in New York City, and he allowed us to film his comment. He made a comment about like not liking like The Boys in the Band.
He was kind of.
But I kind of loved him though. I love him a lot actually. And so after he did this, I went up to him and said, Mr. Albee, I said, I'm doing this documentary about Mark Crowley's The Boys in the Band, and I really would love for you to be a part of it. And he said, I don't think you're going to like what I have to say.
Right.
I said, exactly. I want
That's
everything
a point
that you
of
have to
view.
say. It's a point of view, and
Right.
if it wasn't for you, this piece would not have even gotten off the ground.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah,
And so
and-
he went, okay, I'll
Oh my
tell
God,
you.
yeah. He
Because
was
he was
very
very
wonderful.
sour grapes.
You thought he was sorry.
I was like laughing. By the time, after I saw it in the film, after your film, I was going like, he wishes he had done that.
Oh my God. He did so many great things though.
He did.
Yeah.
Who else did you interview
I
like
interviewed
that?
like Terrence McNally, and at that particular
yes.
time, people don't know this little gossip that Edward Albee and Terrence McNally were boyfriends at that time.
Ah.
Then there's
But
like-
were they, it was different they were different times when you interviewed each of them.
Oh yeah, they were totally different times. Yeah. They weren't boyfriends anymore. That was years ago.
Right,
was
but
like
did
40 years ago.
did they have the same reaction?
Yeah, actually, I think that Terrence had a different kind of reaction.
He
was
did have a different
you know,
take.
and I think he really was able to like just help place it in a historical context, because I think that he really understood the value of that and what the piece means. And he was able to like kind of just take his own life personal experience and just help us with that timeline.
It was, to me, like a historical document, because you interspersed and you cut in all of that wonderful, those old photographs and old footage. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that you're so young. You never got a chance to see that. When did that come into your being?
Oh my God,
Boys in the Band. When did you learn about that?
Okay. Well, I was 16. I was in Texas. I was questioning my own sexual identity, and there was a girl that I was thinking that I was in love with. And but when I kissed her, I didn't feel any fireworks, and I wanted to feel some fireworks. So I was talking to my buddy, who was going to become my boyfriend, but I did not know it in this particular moment. We went to a performing arts high school, and I told him, like, you know, like when I kiss my girl, I don't feel any fireworks. I want to feel some fireworks. So he lunges and then he kisses me. I feel fireworks. So we go at it again, and then our teacher stops us, and he calls us into his office. We freak out, and he's like saying, like, you know, like, do you boys know why you're here? And we say, well, you know, boys should not be kissing each other. Don't tell our parents.
I was going to say, right. That's the first thing you'd say.
I mean, yeah. I mean, totally just not understanding what was going on. And then he just looked at us and he said, you don't get it. And he reached in his desk and he pulled out 2 copies of Mark Crowley's The Boys in the Band. And he told us to read it and come back the following week to discuss it. And I did.
And that's when you read the play?
Yeah.
Was your teacher gay?
Yes.
Because what is he doing with those in his book, in his desk? But that was very interesting. I thought that was a great story. How long did it take you to actually make the film and to edit it?
Well, I think that we started like shooting the actual film like in 2008. But I think I got Mark's permission like in 2006. So fundraising was a challenge. And then I got...
Did you have to raise a lot of funds?
There was some fundage. Yeah. There was some funds we had to raise,
yeah, it's a small film.
Yeah, it's great. And it was difficult at first because I took it to some really important people that felt that the Boys in the Band wasn't relevant.
Oh, right.
And that kind of like just kind of annoyed me a little bit, you know, but I persevered, and then I got the attention of the Tribeca Film Institute.
Yes, that's what was helpful, wasn't it?
It was so helpful, and they had this really special program called Tribeca All Access that connects filmmakers with television film executives. And that is where I met my producing partners, Douglas Tirola and Susan Bedusa of Fourth Row Films.
It's just beautifully made, and I thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you. And keep writing, 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. And email me at jaquinn1@aol.com. Bye.